this is what you want. I know this is what we've all wanted since the release of Morrowind so many decades ago. And I can show you today. All of this, what you're seeing right now, is how things look in-game for me right now. That's right, with just under 40 mods, we can make Morrowind look like this. And I'm gonna tell you how. With a mod list, you can check that down below. And yes, we are using OpenMW for this. It's absolutely breathtaking how good Morrowind can look. And yeah, it's not gonna be like a next-gen game, but it can look awfully beautiful. You want this. I know you want this. Don't lie to me. Alright, let me go over my mod list and explain to you exactly what I've done here. And there's a lot of little details that you might not want to miss, so make sure you watch all the way through. If you skip around, you might miss a key little issue that I had to fix here and there. So make sure you watch all of this. A couple important points you should know about this video is, firstly, when it comes to Morrowind modding, I don't think it's about the number of mods that you install. It's about taste level. There's a lot of people out there where if I tell you that, oh, there's only like 35 mods in this, and they'll say, oh, that's not nearly enough. You need like 300 mods. I don't think that's true. It's about installing the right mods and setting the right settings. Second, when recording videos properly to capture exactly how it appears for me, I lose 30 to 40 frames a second to record this video. So in this video, I had to drop my view distance to show you this. But when I'm not recording, I can push it much further. Alright, so first thing I do have to mention is that yes, this is running in OpenMW, but this is not just the release build of OpenMW, this is the dev build. This is the unstable build. So make sure you get the unstable build for this because it's necessary for some of these features to work. Also, I should just note that there's basically 38 things down in the description. They're not all mods, you could call them mods, but there's 38 points that I want to mention. The first one is OpenMW. Second is Morrowind Rebirth. This needs to match the version of the Aesthesia grass, the Rebirth grass, right? Because the grass mod is made for specific versions of Morrowind Rebirth, because Morrowind Rebirth regenerates the landscape. It changes the shape of the land. So you can't just have any grass mod. You know, so the grass has to be specifically molded to fit the landscape. So at the time of making this, I got Morrowind Rebirth version 6.21, I think. And then, of course, the third point is Rebirth 6.21 grass. Now, if you can't get the exact version, get the closest possible. It should mostly fit, but these versions are currently at least available. Now, when you install grass in OpenMW, it's a little bit different. In MGE, in Morrowind Graphics Extender, you have to do the whole generation thing. You don't actually turn on the grass mod in the data files, okay? And it's the same in OpenMW. Don't turn on the data files for the grass. You have to add certain text lines and files to certain places. There is a specific guide for how to install grass for OpenMW that is linked below. Now, when it comes to these textures, look, here we are in Seda Neen. There's a lot of texture work here. I don't think any of these textures are original. Actually, no, none of the textures would be original. They're all completely redone, but it's not just from one mod. You'll note that there are a lot of mods, a lot of texture mods that I've listed, and they are all, many of them do overlap, right? They overwrite each other. The order that I've put down in the description is the order that I like. So you can see there's Morrowind Enhanced Textures. This is just a definite just grab. It's a huge mod, but it makes, I think, every texture in the game better. So if there's anything that is missed by any of the other mods, Morrowind Enhanced Textures will get it. Then you can see I've got Connery's Bitter Coast, Grazelands, West Gash, and Caves. Those all retexture all of those respective areas, which does a lot of work, which I think it is better than just the enhanced textures. And then you'll see there's Apple's Bitter Coast retexture, which obviously will overwrite some of Connery's Bitter Coast, but it gives some of these particularly the ground textures is what I really like in Appel's Bitter Coast retexture, and Appel's Fire retexture, which just makes fires, like fireplaces and, for example, the fire in the lighthouse, look a little bit better. Like, just the original fire just doesn't look all that great. Fire on torches as well. I think there's a torch over here. You can see this is the new fire texture. And it's an older mod, but it's a good one. Then there's Cozy Journal and Scroll Replacer. So if I open up the journal, look at this lovely Cozy Journal. I really like this one. This bit here is a bit blurry, but I really like this. And you can see if you read a scroll, it looks really nice. And also, I think there's also, we can read a package. Oh, that's a scroll as well. Are these all? Yeah, these are all scrolls. It looks really nice. I like how it is. However, these buttons by default don't always align. The close button and the take button when you're trying to read. There's a take button over here. It doesn't quite align with this scroll. So, and also in the journal, right? By default, the book in OpenMW, I assume these texture mods were made for MGE or vanilla Morrowind. The edge of this book was actually like right on the edge of the text. If you just install the mod, you'll find this is true as well. So what I did is I manually converted the texture files to a PNG, and then I opened Photoshop and I just stretched the whole thing a little bit wider, then saved the PNG, then converted it back into the texture file. There's online texture file converters which can do stuff like that. So that's really good. Next is Enlightened Flames. Enlightened Flames for OpenMW. Now this one I have to go find, I think there's one. A candle. You see the candles, by default, in Morrowind, candles are actually a particle effect and it does not age well. So it replaces the candle texture with like a candle flame sprite, which is, I think, much, much better. It's a small change, but it does come up quite a lot, especially when there's a lot of candles around. You know, like the census office, you know, you see a lot of candles there. And just the lanterns as well. You see there's a lantern right there. The candle lanterns. You'll see it come up quite a bit. And this Enlightened Flames, by default, is for MGE, but there is an OpenMW patcher, which you have to do certain file positioning. So make sure you get the OpenMW patcher for Enlightened Flames and follow the instructions carefully. That one is actually a little bit tricky if you've never done things like this before. Make sure you read the instructions carefully and do it properly. Now, then there's Real Signpost. This is an old mod. I remember using this like 10 years ago. It just replaces the signpost textures with actual text that you can read, so you don't actually have to mouse over. So the Morrowind Enhanced Textures would have replaced the default one with a high-res one. You can see this one is a little bit blurry. Like, I might actually go and manually sharpen it up myself, because I could easily fix that. But by default, Real Signpost is, as far as I can tell, the best, like, lore-friendly signposts. So even though it's like over a decade old, and I just like being able to read the signs without actually like mousing over. Oh, Pelagiad. No, it's you can just read Pelagiad. Okay, then we've got better, all the meshes. After textures, there's the actual 3D models. Better Clothes Complete. Better Clothes just redoes all the clothes. You can see that the models have been redone. They're just, and they are of course retextured. Clothes in general look much better. Look at this, swish. I mean, it's still Morrowind, right? It's still Morrowind, so it can only be so good. But the clothes have all been redone. You can see more comparison screenshots for Better Clothes Complete. And there's also high-res Better Clothes, which improves the resolution of the textures of these clothes, right? Then there's Best of Both Worlds 2022 Wesley Head and Hair Pack. So Wesley Head and Hair Pack is just really good to have because basically the main problem with head and body mesh replacers is that you can see the head and the neck the neck is part of the body, right? And one problem is that the head mod doesn't always match the neck mod, and then you can actually see like an actual ledge. Either the head part of the neck is too big, or the body part of the neck is too big, you know, and you can actually see like a ledge on the neck. So I found that this is the best good looking head and body mod, along with hairs, of course, by combining Best of Both Worlds 2022 Wesley Head and Hair Pack with Better Bodies 3.2 in parentheses Better Beasts, because that includes improved beasts. Just ignore that bird, we'll get to that in a bit. So Better Beasts also have better bodies as well, and you know, they match the heads, the necks and everything. They all look really good. And notably, most importantly for me, is they don't all look like models. This is Vardenfell. This is not, you know, it's not Balenciaga. Morrowind Balenciaga, that's a different video. But this is Morrowind Vardenfell. So yeah, it is prettied up a little bit, but you know, they're not too pretty. Then there's lore-friendly Better Bodies underwear. Now this isn't just in case you don't want purely naked people. If you want the nude versions, that's fine, go for it. I'm making YouTube videos, I'd rather not get my videos flagged. But in some cases with body mods and stuff like that, it's not just that there are parts showing, it's that the parts are missing. So one problem I did have was that it was by default the nude version, but the parts were missing, so the men were basically Ken dolls. So that just looked kind of weird, so I got this mod to put the underwear back on, make it a non-issue. Then we've got more Argonian hair. So by default, with a lot of these head mods and hair mods, there's a lot of human hair, but Argonians not so much. This is like my personal favorite. Like, it says hair, it looks more like ears, frills, I don't know. So this is part of the more Argonian hair. I think it just adds some really nice options, particularly if you're an Argonian player, and it just adds quite a lot to it. Then there's waterfall tweaks, which I should just... There's no waterfalls around here. Let me just go ahead and travel over to Vivek and show you those waterfalls. Alright, here we are in Vivek, and as you can see, this is a waterfall. Well, I guess it's more of a drain, but it is waterfalling. And this waterfall tweaks just makes this look somewhat nicer. I mean, it's not so big a deal. I mean, how often are you over here looking at these things? But I mean, there's a few waterfalls through the game as well. But I think it's just a nice little HD looking waterfall mesh thing. And it just works out really nicely for me. And from a distance especially, it looks really nice. You can see those. It looks really nice, doesn't it? Also just in general, the game looks really nice. I can't believe I made it look so good. Okay, then there's transparent glass weapons. This is a very specific mod, but it's just so impressive. I just gave myself... oh no, I don't have it here. Let me go back and get it. Okay, so here we go. A glass axe. Look at that. It's a little bit high level to be right here in Sedanin, but look at that transparency. Look at the glass. It actually shows a little bit of what's behind it. In first person as well, look at those glass crystals coming out the back and how it is actually slightly transparent. And it's just such a small tweak, but if you use glass weapons or glass armor, look at that. It just feels so much more classy. It feels so much more, I don't know, luxe. Let's put that away. That's transparent glass weapons. And then Fargoth Truehead. Obviously, the head and hair mods does change Fargoth, but people always say Fargoth should be Fargoth. So Fargoth Truehead is a mod just to keep Fargoth looking like Fargoth. Fargoth is now a unique NPC looking like old Fargoth, which I don't know if that breaks immersion or improves immersion. But Fargoth is Fargoth. Okay, now we have a section where I just wanted wildlife to be around, hence the birds and stuff. And they don't all work perfectly, but you know, it's you know, when you play Skyrim, like there's butterflies, there's bees, there's all sorts of things coming around. So wildlife to liven up the world, first is Bitter Coast Sound. So a lot of the sound effects you're hearing right now would be from Bitter Coast Sounds. It just makes the swamp sound so much swampy. But it's not just sound. The title is a little bit of a misnomer. It also adds these dudes. Over some of these swampy things, it adds little dragonfly dudes. And look at that. It's just, it's barely noticeable if you're just walking by. Like, oh, there's nothing there. But it's like, it just gives you that sense that bugs are actually flying around. And oh, look at that. Before it goes away. See that? See, that's a bee. Oh no, that's a bird. It's a bird. It's a yellow bird. Look at that. That's one of my favorite birds because it actually looks so natural. It does glitch out once in a while. It's gone. There are bees. They're very small, but they make a loud buzzing noise. But I'll get to that in a bit. So Bitter Coast Sounds adds in all these sounds from the swamps. Not all the sounds you're hearing, obviously. There's a script over there. But it adds these crickets. It makes the swamp sound really swampy. I love it. There is a mod that you got to install called Tamriel Data. That is that's not actually something that is used by itself, but the mod after it uses files from Tamriel Data, which is Fireflies by Random Pal. There's a lot of Firefly mods out there, and I will show off that one in a bit. I just want to go over where are all the birds going, since we're seeing all the birds now. The birds, not perfect. They're a little stiff. Sometimes they're just crawling on the ground because they can't path properly. But it doesn't just add birds. It adds bees, it adds butterflies, and not in too big a number. Like, the birds, sometimes it feels like there's too many birds. But sometimes you're just wandering by Pelagiad, and there's a butterfly that just goes by. Or a bee that buzzes by. Right? And it just adds so much more. Not just the birds themselves, but you could hear, like, the sounds of seagulls. The birds make noise. The bees make noise. Like, see, this is where it glitches out. They're just like, they don't know what to do. You know what? We can just, I can't. No, that's flying away. The bird's flying away. You know what? You. Got you. And they die rather stiff, but they do fold up the arms, and they do drop bird plumes. Let's eat the feathers. No effect on you, and let's dispose of corpse. Okay, problem solved. No more stuck birds. The other one flew away. But you hear the birds making bird calls now, right? It just adds more noise. So even just for the noise, it's great to have the birds, because as you're walking by, as long as you're not staring at the birds, like, oh, right, there's something wrong with that. If you're just walking through and not paying too much attention, it adds noise, it adds some movement, right? Like, it just makes the world feel more alive. Now, besides that, it is the fireflies. So let me go ahead and make it nighttime. So we'll just let time pass into night. And there's a couple things I want to show here. So first of all, there's the Fireflies by Random Pal. So this is these things. It adds quite a lot of them. Not everywhere, but like once in a while you'll see a little patch of fireflies just sort of floating around like this. And I think it just looks so magical. It looks so enchanting. I love it so much. Also to note, at night, I don't know if we'll see one, the Where Are All the Birds Going mod. It will also add bats. So that's a thing. And also another kind of glow bug. You can see there's some more fireflies. I don't know if I'll call those fireflies. I've seen fireflies in real life. They don't really move that fast, but little shiny luminescent, bioluminescent flittering bugs. You can see them, as you can note, not everywhere, but when they come up, it's like, oh, there they are. It's so nice. And you can see, like, for example, if you're walking through Salanine, there's like the 3 closest ones I've noticed was those 2, and then there's like, you just walk around this corner here, and you're walking down and, oh look, there they are. Oh, it's so nice. Oh, I love these so much. It looks so good. Now, if we wait around a little while, we're gonna see the other glow bugs, which are particularly more fireflies, and they're rather intense considering all the mods we have right now. But we should see them pop up anytime soon. They spawn at night. Oh, there's a bat while we're waiting. I think that's a bat. That's a bat, right? Yeah, that's a bat. So there's a bat flying around. Sometimes guards just go and kill these extra creatures. I think bats in particular, and I think sometimes the glow bugs as well. The guards just get very angry at the glow bugs sometimes and kill them. Now hold on, just give it a bit of time. As you wander through the world at night, the glow bugs do spawn. There they are. You can see these start spawning. Sometimes it's 1, sometimes it's 5, and they are actually an actual creature. Look at that. It says firefly. I'm going to call these the actual fireflies and those the, I don't know, night bugs. These do spawn, not everywhere, but in like little patches. This one spawned by itself. Sometimes you'll see like 3 spawn or just 2, or sometimes a whole group of 5 of them, I think, is like the maximum. But you see these guys sometimes pop up, and the glow is rather intense. That is the effect of a shader we have running, and I will go over that in a little bit. You see that bat floating there? It just makes the world feel more alive, right? But like as you're wandering around, you see, oh, there's just like that glowing thing there. Oh, nice. Right? Just makes the world feel more alive. That bat is also screeching around. Alright, let's move on from the creatures that make the world feel more alive into gameplay enhancements. The first one is better balanced combat. Let's go over that. Alright, for a change of scenery, here we are in Balmora on a lovely sunny day. And this is about the first gameplay mod, outside of Morrowind Rebirth, which adds, you know, NPCs, quests, and all of that. But better balanced combat. This is a big modernization for the combat mechanics, and I know a lot of people are going to say this is heresy, but it removes dice rolls. It removes dice rolls. Despite my failure to hit that bird earlier, that's a bird. Let's try our glass axe on actually hitting some other characters. For example, the Silt Strider Rider. You can see if I just start swinging, it hits every time. If I, you know, move forward, it doesn't attack. If I pull back, it doesn't attack. You see, it depends on the direction we're moving. If I just stand still, it's a slash. If I move forward, it's a stab. If I pull back, it's a stab. Right? Power attack, right? So if I move to the right, it does a side, or left, it does a side attack. So the type of attack is based on your movement, and also there's no more dice rolls. Every hit counts, but this is not, importantly, this is not accurate attack. Accurate attack is the old mod which just removed the dice rolls. It just made the hit chance 100%. Better balanced combat tries to rebalance that. So you can actually see, if you check here, there is, there's, for example, there, better balanced combat effects 1 point. Restore magicka. Your magicka does actually restore over time, right? If I cast the spell Blessed Touch, you can see the magicka is actually restoring. Again, I know you might be saying heresy. It also just gives a 20-point speed boost to every character. So everyone just moves at a much more reasonable pace, like a modern game. So you might like this, you might not like this, but I think if you're playing Morrowind in a new game plus kind of fashion, like you've played Morrowind a lot in the past and you want a new experience, better balanced combat is at least more complex than accurate attack, right? So that's good. Projectile overhaul, faster projectiles. That one's just something I was playing around with, where I was actually testing a gun mod to see if I could, you know, get that mod working in the game, and it does kind of work, but the bullets moved really slow. Then I tried crossbows, right? And the crossbow bolts moved really slow. Like here, you would like click on like that guy to shoot and you'd be like, thunk, and it'll like take literally 3 or 4 seconds before it hit the guy. So it just felt really unrealistic. Projectile Overhaul has a bunch of stuff, but particularly I just installed faster projectiles. I didn't install any of the others. I just wanted the projectiles to move faster, and that made it feel much better. Then I think a must-have mod for any mod list is delayed DB attack. This delays the Dark Brotherhood assassination attempt on you. If you don't know what that is, don't worry too much about it. I don't want to spoil it for you, but essentially the Dark Brotherhood tries to assassinate you a bit too early. And that's not just a bad thing because it's difficult to kill them when you're low level, but it also gives you some of the best light armor in the game way too early. And that throws off the balance of the game. So delaying their attack is very important for the balance and experience of the game. So delayed DB attack, definitely good to have. Oh, and then, I guess this is a gameplay enhancement. Maybe it's a mesh enhancement really, but I'm gonna go back to Satanim for this one. All right, this is one which I tested last year and could not get it working, but it's graphic herbalism in OpenMW. This always worked in Morrowind Graphics Extender, the MGE version of the game, but graphic herbalism now works in OpenMW. As in, when you harvest things, they disappear. Like, visually disappear. You don't open an inventory on a mushroom, you just pick up the mushroom. Ah, it's so good. And it works for, as far as I can tell, pretty much everything. It even works for ore veins and ore mines. Like, instead of you still need a pickaxe to mine the ore, but the actual ore disappears, right? So now you can tell whether something has been harvested or not, because it'll look different. I mean, graphic herbalism, this stuff was, as far as I remember, first originally a mod for Oblivion. And they were like, oh, can we do it for Morrowind? So they did it for Morrowind, but it didn't work for OpenMW, but now it does. You have graphic herbalism for that. Okay, moving on to some new tech, lighting and shaders. This is a much more complicated one, but it's from OpenMW, and it's starting to get to a point where it's surpassing MGE. So MGE always had the advantage of having better shaders and lighting in Morrowind compared to OpenMW, and shaders are starting to be developed for OpenMW, and we can see quite a lot is running here. If you can't tell, I'm gonna go through them. First, there's this improved lights for all shaders. It's a thing that I got. It just helps. Go get it. And then if I press F2 in OpenMW, it brings up the post-process HUD. And you got to turn on post-processing in OpenMW, and it gives you all of these things. All of these things. So first, FXAA, bloom linear, and adjustments, they come with the thing, along with debugs. For example, if I turn on debug, it's a debug mode, right? We don't need that. FXAA, like, just look at this wall here, look at the grass. So I take away FXAA, it sharpened things up actually, but it looks kind of weird now. Bloom linear, it just, you see there's a little bit of bloom that I added, and adjustments, which is gamma contrast. You can do that as you will, but I just did a little adjustment there. Clouds is the big one. But see, I put in adjustments, FXAA, and bloom linear, and it made everything feel a lot better. FXAA, you could remove FXAA. I don't know, it sort of made this look rather painterly without it. With it, I think it feels a little bit better. There's other things that sharpen that back up again. That's why it doesn't look so bad. I'll go with that. Clouds is the big one. Look, all the mist is gone. Suddenly the world is dark and flat. You might like this. You might prefer this, maybe. But one problem is in Morrowind is the cutoff distance tends to... okay, I'm going to turn off something here. The cutoff distance tends to be rather jarring, right? And volumetric fog does a lot of work to hide that and also looks phenomenal once you actually realize what it's doing, right? So, if I turn volumetric fog back on, it's called clouds. Put that back in, okay? So, this adds a lot to the world, right? So currently, my view distance is reduced quite a bit. Just so you know, recording this means I lose about 30 to 40 frames per second to record this. So if you check my frame rate right now, my frame rate is like 30. At worst, it's dropping to like 28, but I think it's like 30 to 35 right now. When I look away from Sedanin, it goes up to like 48, 49, right? Imagine, if I'm not recording, I get 30 to 40 more frames, which means I can increase the view distance a lot more if I'm not showing you all this stuff, right? I get better view distance when I'm not recording. Literally, 30 to 40 frames per second. It's massive. Let me get rid of that. But here's something. See, that looks really weird, right? I put clouds on and it looked really weird, right? This is something that you want to check. This looks better. Oh, look, that looks better. Why would you turn on clouds and make it look like that? First of all, clouds needs to be at the top. So push clouds up to the top, right? That's very important. So now it looks just sort of bright and misty in the distance. But one thing you might not know is this is actually fog. It's volumetric. Now you can check settings here when you click on this, right? So just so you know, under adjustments, this is my gamma and contrast. I put 1.050 and 1.070 here for adjustments. I didn't touch Bloom Linear or FXAA. FXAA, I dropped it down to 1, I think. This is, yeah, it was 1.3. I dropped it down to 1. These are my settings for those. Clouds, I did a few things. Firstly, you just check the numbers here and you can see what I did. Replace skybox, I set to off because the skybox looks really nice. And replace skybox means it actually replaces the sky with cloud. Well, it removes the skybox, which is not so great. Which also means you don't get stars at the end. But the intent is to have clouds, like actual volumetric clouds. This looks pretty nice, but you don't have stars. Personally, this takes more processing power, and also I'm not too bothered about the clouds being volumetric, so I'm going to disable the clouds and don't replace the skybox, and I kind of prefer that, right? But the mist is important. You see here, mist is enabled, dynamic mist is on, density I dropped it to 0.2. Altitude, I raised it to the max because I just wanted it covering the horizon as much as possible. Speed is on 1, swirling is on. Now, to see what it's actually doing, I'm going to turn up the speed to 5. And you can see it's actually like mist flowing through the world, right? It's not just a flat texture, it's mist flowing through the world, right? And it makes the world feel so much more alive, so much more immersed, right? And at this speed, obviously, it looks kind of jarring, but, you know, by default, it's 1, right? But you might want it, like, at 2 if you want it to be a bit more noticeable, right? But I like 1, right? And this volumetric cloud shader also comes with this point glow, which is what makes all the lights at night look so good. So let me go ahead and make it nighttime and show you what this is actually doing. Here we go, nighttime. Okay, so the point glow is coming from this shader. If I turn it off, look at these two lights here, the red light there and that lamp there. It's just flat. This is what it's like without the volumetric clouds mod. So the volumetric clouds mod isn't just for the fog, it's for the point glow. And it makes interiors really pop and shine, right? Also, don't mind the laggy frames now. I'm messing with all these settings on the fly. It's gonna mess things. Let me go interior where I get high frames, right? Like, it makes all these lights pop and shine. There is one problem where it's currently not done properly for multi-light source items like this one. So it's sort of a bit, that's a bit weird. But let's just ignore that for now and see what it does for the rest of the world, where it's like this, right? These glows. Without the point light, it's just kind of flat. Like, it's still cool with everything else, but I just feel like it's much more magical with this. Now, I did tweak these settings quite a bit. So have a look at these numbers. 0.5, 0, 100, 0, off 25, 1.45, on clamp light to radius, you know. So it actually does, you know, do a bit of a thing. And then extra is off, debugging is off. So that's my cloud settings there, which is for all of these, all the mist and also the point lights. Now, besides that, I also installed True Lights and Darkness. Now, True Lights and Darkness is a mod that really helped just get the, it just made the lighting look correct. It felt more mystical, felt more magical, felt more real. But one problem I had when I installed the volumetric clouds, True Lights and Darkness was making some interiors just pitch black, particularly dungeons, but sometimes just any other interior as well, some bars and taverns. You know, like you stepped in and it wasn't that there was no light, it was just a black screen. The game still ran, but it was a black screen. And I'm not entirely sure what caused that, but turns out the True Lights and Darkness mod is actually outdated. So what I found is that I found TLAD, True Lights and Darkness, TLAD Daylight-BCOM, and TLAD Lights Only Necro Edit Logical Flicker Expected. It's all listed down below. And by just using those two True Lights and Darkness updated mods, not all of them, there's a whole bunch of True Lights and Darkness, just using those two, it gave me the effect I wanted while also not turning some interiors pitch black, which is handy. But also for True Lights and Darkness, there was a number of lighting number changes to get it to look the way I wanted. I followed a guide for that is also linked down below. Okay, back outside and during the daytime. Now, reshade. Yes, reshade works with this game, and I want to show you what's going on and how you can tweak this to look just how you want, but also amazing like I've done if you want. Now, all of this looks great, right? This swamp looks amazing. But you know, without reshade, this is what it actually looks like. This is what the game looks like without reshade. It's fuzzy, it's blurry. Where's all the color gone? It's just boring. Right? Like, I was playing like this, and I didn't really, I mean, without the clouds. So I was sort of playing like this. And I was like, okay, I guess this is Morrowind. This looks really good, yes? No. Let's put the clouds back in. I'm gonna push it to the top. Reshade. Oh, the world comes alive. Dead, alive, dead, alive. Now, what are my reshade settings, you might ask? Well, I just installed the normal reshade, and let me bring up the settings right here. So I just checked on, I went through all of these to find what I wanted. You can do whatever you want. These are my settings. I just checked on AMD Fidelity FX Contrast Adaptive Sharpening, right? You can see it just sharpens up the world really nicely. DPX, it just makes the mist sort of whiter on the distances. It just pops the white. I don't know exactly what it's doing, but it really hides the horizon really well. So like if you look out into the sea, right? The mist sort of hides the horizon quite nicely. Right, so like there's the horizon right there. You can't see it, right? Turn off reshade and it's just a harsh line and it looks kind of weird. Turn on reshade because we're doing work with this DPX here, right? It just sort of melds that edge. You can still kind of see it, especially when the mist, you see the dynamic mist, which is not flat. You can actually see it moving there. This is the clear spot. These are the blurry spots. Clear spot does sometimes show, but if you're not paying attention, it's fine. Also, HDR. I just turned this on. It's a fake HDR. I just think it's better with than without. So HDR on. Luma Sharpen. It just sharpens up the world, right? So I've got this AMD Fidelity FX and Luma Sharpen. They both sharpen and make it really nice. That's why it looks so blurry without it. And then Vibrance. See, without Vibrance, you might prefer Morrowind without the Vibrance boost. This looks more realistic, I guess, right? But I'm doing the Vibrance boost, right? And not by much, not by much. See, if I turn off performance mode, you can see my Vibrance is just 0.25. 0.25, right? Just to be sure, here are all my settings here. If you want to look at it, it should just be the default. I don't think I changed any of it except for Vibrance. And then when you're done picking those options and setting the settings, make sure you click performance mode and then hide it. And that's reshade. Without reshade, with reshade. Without reshade, with reshade. Good, good. Now finally, I do have a mod called Timescale 6. It just sets the timescale, as in how fast the time passes, to 6, which is basically default is 30. I think it's way too fast. Shadows are zooming by. 6 means it just moves really nice and slow. You barely notice it. You don't have to get the mod really. You can just go to set timescale 2 in the console. 6. 15 is also a favorite of many people if you want it a little bit faster. So you can see the shadows moving. 15. 15 will have the day-night passing quite nicely. I like 6 because it feels realistic, but not, you know, basically it's 6 times real world speed. In 24 hours, you'd pass 6 times 24 hours in the game, right? So you can try 6 or 15. And now finally, in the view distance, you might be asking, I'm running it quite low here. I think I've got it on like 18,000 in the settings .ini file. I think a perfect view distance is about 35,000. It does recorrect it to a more specific number, but I think 35,000 is really good. If your frames can handle it, I'd go up to about 50,000. For your viewing distance, just open up the OpenMW settings.ini and set it to 35,000 or 50,000. If your frames can't handle that, I would not go below 8,000. I put specific numbers in the description below, so go ahead and do that. I'm just running things a little bit shorter today for this video because again, I lose 30 to 40 frames a second to record the video, so I didn't want to show you a slideshow, but there's that. And there you have it. That is what I'm running for Morrowind in OpenMW right now. I am so amazed at how good this looks, how amazing this has all come together. I didn't think it would be that much different than the last time I tried to do this, which was about a year and a half, 2 years ago, but this has come a long way, and you don't really notice that it is actually coming a long way, especially with OpenMW, because it doesn't put out a stable full release, but the dev build is continuing to develop, and it allows things like these volumetric clouds and all of that. And it looks even better when I have another 30 frames a second and a further viewing distance. I did post some screenshots, and those look phenomenal, so you can check those out. But yeah, go ahead and try modding Morrowind. If you want to know exactly how to do this, you can follow my easy guide. If you've never modded Morrowind before, I recommend following my easy guide. That pretty much works for OpenMW as well. You can do the MGE portions and just have 2 versions of Morrowind running at the same time, but all the mods there sort of build up to this as well. You know, it just continues to build and build and build. Yeah, mod list down below. If you know how to mod, you know how to do that. If you don't know how to mod, follow the easy guide. It'll be easier for you. Okay, good, good. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you found this guide useful. Thank you all to all the modders out there making these fantastic mods, and also to the creators of OpenMW. It's just phenomenal. Also, oh, just a side note, I've set up my UI scale in OpenMW a little bit, but I found the middle dot to be slightly too big. So that's also, you know, like the journal. I modified the text file, the image. You can actually set the size of that center cursor in the settings as well. I just halved it. You just have to change a number, right? Because I found the dot just a bit too big. So I halved the size of the dot in the middle of the screen, in case you're wondering about that. Good, good, good. I've got more stuff on the channel. Go watch it. If you want to buy Morrowind, use the GOG referral link down below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!